Okay, this is Rodrigo at ListenLoop, and we're here with Marketing Talk with Rachel Rosin, Senior Manager of Digital Marketing at ActOn Software, a leading marketing automation provider for fast-growing businesses. Rachel, would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us your role, responsibilities, and kind of what you're up to over there.
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me today. So my name is Rachel Rosin, and I'm the Senior Manager of the Digital Marketing team here at ActOn. So really, I'm responsible for anything and everything that our customers and prospects and audience interact with digitally. So from everything from managing ActOn, the marketing automation platform, and our strategy for nurturing and using it as kind of a lead gen engine to help alignment with our sales team, from our website and all of the content that we have on our website, landing pages, emails, forms, as well as SEO, making sure that we are showing up in search results and being as efficient as possible, and all of the retargeting and display ads as well. So definitely we use ListenLoop for our retargeting, and what we try to do is just really create a seamless experience for our customers so that no matter where you're viewing our materials online, there's a cohesiveness and it's taking you on a journey.
So oftentimes the audience wants to know, they want to compare themselves and their product lines to perhaps the speaker. So tell us about ActOn, kind of what it does, what it sells, and who it targets.
Yeah, so ActOn really focuses on the B2B mid-market marketing teams. And ActOn is actually ActOn's largest customer. We think of ourselves as our own use case for what it means to be an efficient marketing team in today's digital landscape. So we use ActOn every day, and we use it as kind of the dashboard that drives all of our marketing activities. So it's where we're feeding in all of that data from all of the different lead sources that we have to make sure that we have everything in place so that we can strategically nurture people by sending the right messages at the right time using automated programs and lead scoring with ActOn. And then also we use it to make sure that we can, track full funnel attribution, making sure that the money that we're spending in campaigns that we're running is actually contributing to the bottom line. And so a lot of the ways that we do that is through our forms and just making sure that we have hidden fields or just information available on every conversion so that we know where those prospects and leads were coming from. And then we can follow them through the funnel and see who actually converts to customers and then optimize our spends and our campaigns that way.
Very cool. And I remember one of the very interesting positioning statements that ActOn pushed in 2016 was this idea of brand, demand, and expand. And I love that. And it often implicates an omni-channel approach. Tell me about omni-channel and why it's important in the B2B marketer landscape.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, brand demand expand is something that's very real for us. It's the way that we've structured our marketing team here, because there are different facets of marketing. You are, from a branding approach, you're trying to get people interested in your brand. You're attracting that interest, and you're getting yourself known. It encompasses, PR and analyst relations and social media. And then you have the demand function of it, which is, taking all of that momentum that you've received from gaining that interest and that attraction and, taking them on a journey to making sure that you stay top of mind and hopefully convert to an actual paying customer. And then, marketing doesn't end at the sale. It should not, and it's all about expanding your customer relationships. So what education can you provide about your product or service to make sure that they are using everything to the fullest extent and love your brand? Because we kind of taken it from a standpoint of there's no other department in a company more so than marketing that really has a touch point with your customers through every phase that they go through. So marketing really should be owning that experience because in today's digital age, there are so many different factors that go into a purchase. You're searching online as soon as you have a problem. You're looking for a solution or something that can solve that pain. And then, you don't want to just click and buy, especially when it's something, you know, that's a larger purchase. So you look at reviews, you look at social media, you ask people, what are they using? And then once you have kind of, you know, a consideration set of companies that you feel comfortable with, then it goes into, okay, well, how can they directly solve the issues that I'm having? And you evaluate a couple of different players, and then, you know, eventually start to use the services. So it's not just a simple journey anymore. It's really about staying top of mind in all of the different places that potential prospects could be looking for you.
And I love that visual you brought up at the beginning, this idea that brand creates momentum that needs to be captured by demand. And one of the things you talked about there was using social. And I know that ActOn recently launched a social module, I think Q4 of last year.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, and why you think marketers need these tools in their arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's necessary in today's world because, you know, you think of sales 50 years ago and people would ask their neighbors, they'd ask people that they know. And, you know, nowadays you don't talk to people face to face as much anymore. A lot of it is done online. You're making connections online, and you're able to have a larger network of people to pose questions to, and that's what social serves as. And so for us, we released this our advanced social media module, which is kind of a partnership that we have with Octopost, because, you know, social is growing, and you're putting a lot more, companies are putting a lot more money into social just so that their channels are a lot more visible. So you want to make sure, again, that you're getting that return on the investment. So it's not just about how many likes or shares or retweets that you're getting on your social posts. It's about seeing how that actually ties back to revenue. You know, how many people are following you on social networks? You know, are people that follow you on social networks more likely to become customers? And really using our advanced social module gives you better reporting on the back end, which helps you answer some of those questions. And it also helps you identify too, you know, who are your top influencers? You know, your sales staff or just all of your employees or people that are, they can be influencers for your product or service. And we encourage our employees to share social posts all the time. We have kind of an evangelist club. And, you know, every day we have an email that comes out of different items that we can share to make more visible to our networks, because it's a great way to get more visibility without having, you know, higher costs of some traditional lead programs.
Well, yeah, a lot of people think that social media, especially in the B2B world, gets a bit of a bad rap. This idea that social media is very B2C focused. How do how do you think about a decision maker? Let's kind of think about this decision maker, you know, Carl, the CIO, and you know, he's maybe 50 something. He's working at a large Fortune 500 company. You know, is this person on social media? And if so, what channels and why are they there? And how are they being influenced by social media?
Yeah, so I mean, social media, I think definitely it varies from industry to industry. So within the B2B world, we definitely see a lot more success with channels like Twitter or LinkedIn. If you're more on a B2C focus, then, you know, avenues like Instagram or Facebook are typically see a lot more success. And it can, you know, vary by age group as well. Like, you know, the Carl, the CIO at the Fortune 500, you know, he might not be as active on social channels, but what's nice about social is that, you know, you could be connecting with somebody that Carl works with, and Carl, you know, at the end of the day, probably isn't the only person in in the decision to adopt a new product or service. It more often than not nowadays, it's a team of people making decisions. You know, it's not just one person pulling that trigger and signing a contract. You have to get buy-in from other people. So it's about you know, influencing who you can at an account level or a company level, which is, you know, where ABM, we're starting to see a more rise in ABM topics, because it's not just about reaching one person anymore. It's about making connections with a company, with a business, and really making sure that you're staying visible and top of mind with everybody who could be potentially involved in that purchase decision.
I love that. That's a really good point. I think that's something that a lot of marketers often forget. When we have this laser focus on getting leads, we're so focused on getting the lead that we want, the highest level decision maker, we often forget that they're often influenced by their subordinates,
Yeah,
who are often tasked to do the research and present it to the person that you want. And so that's a really good point, and people would do well to recognize that and remember that in their campaigns. Let me switch tracks a little bit, and you mentioned ABM just now. We've been talking about omnichannel. How would you compare and contrast omnichannel versus ABM? They seem to have a lot of similarities, and yet people talk about them differently.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think ABM in general, I feel like there's just a lot of similarities to things that marketers have been doing for years, but we just didn't have a term and a nice definition for it. I think in my mind, I think of omnichannel is, ABM is a method used in an omnichannel approach. Omnichannel is, for me, really not just using one method of communication to reach your prospects. It's the sum of all the parts. It's making sure that you're visible on search. It's making sure you have an approachable website. It's making sure you have engaging emails and engaging social posts, and then making sure that you have your messaging aligned with your sales team. So even when prospects and customers are interacting with you outside of the digital realm, that they're having that same communication and that same expectation carried through in live conversations that they're having as well. And so I think ABM is a nice way to kind of button things up and bring it back to the fact that you're not just trying to reach one contact in a business anymore. It's about targeting the business and making sure you have a strategic approach to attracting companies that you want, and then being efficient about the way that you interact with contacts within that company. So for me, I think ABM is just another tool in a marketer's arsenal that really makes a more solid omni-channel approach, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you speak about ABM with, I think, a lot of authority, and it gives me the impression that you and ActOn is already pursuing an ABM strategy. If so, I'd love to hear more about that. What was the kind of rationale and thinking behind that allowed the team, both at the management level and at the execution layer, to come to terms with that and embrace it as a strategy they want to pursue?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was just something that, we had been seeing internally, or something that we just kind of felt as marketers. It's very rare and it's very rewarding to work at a company where your target market is yourself. So, a lot of the things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis are the things that our audience is doing. So we try to make sure that we're very vocal with our sales team and our product team to make sure that, what we're doing is heard, because that's, part of the industry. And so for us, it kind of came from the approach of, we kept hearing salespeople talk about just reach the CMO. And, there's a lot of us coordinators or, specialists on the floor that were actually, in the platform every day using the product and hearing some of these calls. And it's like, hey guys, you're missing an opportunity here, because it's not just the CMO that's making that decision. You don't want to forget about the people that are going to be in the product every day, day to day, because those are the ones that are going to use the product. And if they don't use the product, then they're probably going to churn. So you want to make sure that you have buy-in from everybody. And the best way to do that is to target the account and make sure that you have the different buyer personas that you might interact with within a marketing team, for us specifically, and that you have content and talk tracks that really speak to each of those personas within a company. So at the end of the day, they're probably, that company is going to have the same pain points or issues that they're trying to solve, but each person is going to try to solve them in a different way. If your issue is revenue, your CMO is going to have a much different approach connecting your ROI than a coordinator would. They'd be more focused on features that they can actually implement themselves. So for us, really, it was knowing that just taking that mindset out. It's not, you don't want to just get the person that's signing that contract. It's about getting buy-in from the entire company. So then ActOn recently released last year an ABM model, which helps you roll up scoring to an account level so you can begin nurturing accounts, not just leads or contacts. And then also we work with ListenLoop, and we do ABM retargeting with ListenLoop. And we use ListenLoop as part of our omni-channel approach of making sure that, you know, as we are nurturing these accounts and these companies, that the messaging that they're receiving in emails is also the same messaging that they're receiving in digital ads and retargeting ads across the digital universe.
That's a great point about kind of harmonizing the email and the advertising. How do you see, or what do you see as the value in creating that harmonized message across channels? In other words, maybe the flip of the question is, what's the harm in having message one and perhaps a different message two across channels?
Yeah, I think it just, the harm is it can create inconsistency, which for me, I think it can be a red flag for some people. They want to know what they can expect, and they want to see consistent messaging. Like, what is your company about? That shouldn't change from channel to channel. Sure, the way that you pitch the message should be different, because different mediums, you know, email, you can get a little more lengthy. You can explain things. With digital ads, you know, you have to be very short and brief. But, and also it's just about recognition too. You know, we are bombarded with messages daily. Think about how many emails you get in your inbox every day, or how many ads you see online. But when you see imagery and messages that match something that you've seen in email, the recognition factor is a lot higher, and people are going to start to remember you a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what we've seen in clients implementing omnichannel campaigns. Turning back to the ABM campaigns that ActOn has been executing, what would you say are maybe one or two of the biggest challenges you've run into, and how you've overcome them?
Yeah, I think, you know, probably one of the biggest challenges is data. You know, just making sure that you have clean data and that you can effectively pull segments or accounts or companies that you want to be addressing, because there's some upfront costs that come with ABM programs. So you want to make sure that you're spending your money efficiently and wisely. And so I think data is usually marketers' number one problem. Making sure that you have things set up in a way that you can segment effectively, so that you can really do more targeted campaigns, so that you're really making sure that you are delivering the right message to the right people at the right time. And so with that comes a variety of different factors. It's not just demographics anymore. It's not just the company, the location, the titles. It also encompasses their actions and what they're interacting with, and trying to use those as a basis for what their interests are, based on, you know, which content that they've interacted with. Because, you know, deliverability also is a huge issue with emails. So you want to make sure that you're not just batch and blasting anymore. You know, you shouldn't be just sending a message to everyone. You should be sending a message that is very applicable to a certain targeted audience. You know, a lot of people kind of boast about, hey, my email list size is X thousand numbers big. But, you know, now we're kind of moving into this world where smaller, more targeted lists and messages is better. You see better engagement from that, because you're able to deliver more personalized messages.
And one of the things that often comes up for the ABM marketer is the question of measuring results, return on investment. If we look back at the last 10 years, there has been a definite focus on the MQL, the SQL, the marketing qualified lead, the sales qualified lead. You know, how does ActOn change its model for measuring results of its account-based team when you're looking at an account rather than the individual lead? How do you think about measurement and ROI?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because yeah, at the end of the day, you know, your MQLs and SQLs, that all still plays into the puzzle. But it kind of, for us, rolls up a little bit into scoring and just the way that you position and create your reports. So we have lead scoring. So each individual contact or lead rolls up score, it rolls up into an account score. And so we are monitoring accounts. And so what we do is we look at accounts and we kind of do an analysis to see, we have a control group of, some accounts that are being worked by sales that aren't getting marketing messaging. And then you look at accounts that are getting marketing messaging and are being actively created by sales. And you look at the difference in those conversion rates and can kind of see, how your programs are getting a lift based on, the differences in conversion rates between those two groups.
Yep, absolutely. That's definitely how we recommend measuring the results of an ad campaign the very same way, setting up a control group and then setting up a group that's receiving the marketing messaging. So we're going to start wrapping it up. And I think the last thing the big question I have for you is any tips you have for marketers looking to implement an ABM strategy for the first time? Landmines to watch out for, pitfalls. Love to hear about that.
Yeah, I think number one is have a strategy. Try to plan it out. Think from beginning to end. Don't just try to just say, I'm just going to market to accounts instead of leads now. Like, that's not the right approach. Take a look at the types of accounts or customers that you have in currently that are active, and take a look at some of the factors that make them that are in common between those successful customers. And once you have that list of kind of those commonalities, then I think the best approach is to start looking at your database and all of your leads and prospects, and start to identify some of those accounts that have some of those similarities. And then from there, try to do your first ABM campaign, because it's all about identifying the right account for you. So I would try to do it that way, and then just have a very thought out strategy of not just email, but also the omni-channel approach. What are the different interactions that these accounts are going to have from us throughout all of the digital channels, and really have a thought out messaging strategy. What are some of the ads that they're going to see in PPC? What are the landing pages we want to start to direct them to from our offers? What are the emails that they're going to receive? And then what are the ads that they're going to receive from those emails? And once you have that laid out, it makes the implementation of an ABM strategy that much more simple. And then at the end of the day, my number one tip of advice for any marketer is, when in doubt, test it out. A/B testing can be a marketer's lifeline, because at the end of the day, we do a lot of research. We have a lot of data available to us, and we think we know what our customers and audiences want, but we're not fortune tellers. We don't know the future. We don't know how everybody's going to react to things. So even if you have a campaign idea that you're absolutely in love with and you think is going to be so successful, it could bomb. So for me, I think always test it out. It's really simple to do A/B testing, especially if you marketing automation platform. It's one of the features that ActOn offers, and it helps give you peace of mind to test out your ideas before you roll them out. Because even if you're getting like a 1% increase in your conversions, that can mean huge things down the line. So with so much technology that helps give you that peace of mind, it's kind of a disservice to yourself not to use it.
Well said. So this has been Rodrigo here at ListenLoop and Rachel at ActOn. Rachel, is there anything you want to leave us with before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think just thanks so much for the conversation today. I think this is great. As a marketer, like I said, test it out and always just be on the lookout for new technology and new ways to do things. We can be pretty fearless in our marketing strategies now, and it's an exciting time, and it's time to try new things and move the needle and become better.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Again, this is Marketing Talk with Rodrigo at ListenLoop, and stay tuned for our next podcast on more marketing technology, tactics, and tips to implement your account-based marketing campaigns. Thanks a lot.